Thank you so much, sir, for joining us as a part of CNBC TV18. We heard your comments coming in from the panel discussion. Very interesting. Mr. Krishna compared it to catching a tiger by its tail. You compared it to a work of science fiction. AI is the turnaround agent that we're looking at. Just your thoughts on regulating AI, on having guardrails for AI.
I think we'll need them. It has such potential to do so many good things for the world, and yet we need to be clear-eyed. Like any tool, some will turn it into a weapon. So we do need guardrails. I think it starts with tech companies in the private sector. It starts with self-regulation, but we will need new laws. We will need new regulations. We'll need it at the national level. Ultimately, we'll need it at the global level in terms of coordination as well.
Mr. N. Chandra, while encapsulating the concerns, had red flagged two issues. One, he said, will it take our jobs? And will it affect our privacy? How do you look at these two issues when you look at generative AI?
Well, I think we can take strong steps quickly on the privacy front. I think we'll need to think more and do more to really focus on the skills that people will need to really fill the jobs of the future. I think this will create more jobs, but it will change people's jobs. And in some cases, we may see certain categories where there are fewer jobs, but mostly I think we're going to see this impact people's work. It will make people more productive, but like everything else, including smartphones and computers, we'll need to learn new skills to get the most of it. And I think that's where we in the tech sector, that's where we at a company like Microsoft really need to lean in to help people acquire the skills that will be important.
Just a final word on your visit here to India as a part of the B20 deliberations. We began the session with Mr. Chandra saying that India is poised for 7% growth for the next decade or so. Your quick thoughts on how the Indian market is playing out for you and what this B20 does in terms of catalyzing that energy?
Well, the Indian market is extraordinary. It's extraordinary in part because I think India has moved so far this decade with its digital public infrastructure, with the adoption of technology. In some ways, there is no other country that has seen something quite like this. It's truly extraordinary. But the Indian market is also extraordinary because of the population, the youth of the population. We're obviously reaching a point where 1 out of every 6 human beings on planet Earth live in India, but more than that, 1 out of every 4 people of working age, say between 20 and 64, is here in India. I think more than ever the world will depend on India. More than ever, India will be connected with the world.
How are you looking at the challenges? We have a high inflation, low growth, global headwinds. Is that a concern for you when you're looking at your demand outlook, let's say, for the second half of 2023?
Well, I think one always needs to look at the globe as a whole. One needs to always look at the opportunities as well as the challenges. But I think in some ways we've addressed some of the hardest challenges this decade has thrown at us. No one expected a pandemic. No one expected a war in Europe. No one expected the recession as sort of the pandemic bubble in some way burst. So I'm optimistic as we look to the future. There will be challenges, there always are, but I think in many ways there's a lot of tailwinds also coming together.
We wish you the very best, and thank you so much for joining us on CNBC TV18.
Thank you.